lecture, we'll talk about the follow-up. In particular, we'll explain how to follow up to assess customer satisfaction. We'll discuss how firms utilize technology in customer relationship management, or CRM. We'll discuss the actions that help ensure customer satisfaction, and then, of course, how to handle complaints. So what are some ways to establish a good customer relationship? As with most relationships, building goodwill with the customer by continually adding value to the product or service is a good way to establish a good relationship. Also, handling complaints in a timely and thoughtful manner will be appreciated by the customer. And processing requests for rush deliveries willingly without a hassle would assure the customer that the salesperson will do everything possible to make the request possible. So let's talk about customer satisfaction and why it's important. When customers are satisfied, it ensures customer trust. It's also a good indicator if the buyer will repurchase from your company, what their repurchase intentions are, and if they're loyal to you and your firm. Customer satisfaction can serve as a really important point of differentiation from competitors and can reduce customer defections and negative word of mouth, meaning that this customer is more likely to stay with your company and buy from you again if they're satisfied, and not pass on negative words to people who may be looking for referrals. So in that sense, it also improves customer referrals. So over time, customers who are satisfied should have a pretty high lifetime value to you as a salesperson and to your firm. But customer satisfaction, particularly in business to business, is very much affected by the salesperson's reliability and responsiveness. Salespeople should be able to perform post-sale follow-up activities, like checking in to see how the product or service is doing for the company. Salespeople should anticipate and adapt to changes in the customer's situation, not always waiting for them to tell you that something has changed. And suppliers can gather customer satisfaction information through a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's not possible to speak to every single customer on a weekly or monthly basis. Perhaps you can conduct surveys, feedbacks, social media scans, or online communities and groups. These are great sources of information. Now let's talk about the 4 sequential components of effective follow-up. These are some of the things that all salespeople should do to make sure that your customers are satisfied and that you're delivering value. The first one is interact. This means maximizing the number of critical encounters with buyers in order to encourage dialogued involvement. It's really impossible to know if your customers are satisfied if you don't interact with them on some kind of regular basis and be able to withdraw important information and conversation with the buyer. The next one is connect. The salesperson should maintain contact with multiple people in the buying organization, not just one person. This gives them different points of view from different people involved in the buy. This also allows the salesperson to influence buying decisions and manage customer touchpoints. The third one is know. The salesperson should gather and interpret customer information and realize if the buyer's needs, situation, or expectations have changed. Having this information can help you service the customer better and plan for their next buying cycle. And the fourth component is relate. The salesperson should have a relevant understanding and insight to create value-added interactions with the buyer. And it generates relationships between the salesperson and the buyer if they know that you can adequately understand and relate to their business situation. Now let's talk about customer contact management tools. What we're talking about here are CRM systems, or customer relationship management systems. These are ways to link the buyers and sellers into a rich communication network to establish and reinforce those long-term and profitable relationships. Typically, these are dynamic systems that allow the buyer and the seller an all-day 24/7 access to one another and one another's organizations, which allows problems to be resolved quickly in an online and digital format, such as routine order processing, and even stockouts and complaints can be handled. It could even be synced to social media to pull customer information. The reason CRM systems are used is because they enable salespeople to build and integrate many forms of customer information and hopefully create highly influential and individualized customer interactions. Salesforce.com is probably one of the most utilized CRM platforms. So let's discuss some ways that salespeople can enhance the relationship with buyers, with the end goal of ensuring customer satisfaction. As you can see in the table below, there's quite a few different partnership enhancement activities that the salesperson should undertake. They should be a good source of information that's relevant, timely, and high quality. They should watch over orders and monitor installations. Sometimes it might be necessary to train customer personnel, particularly if it's a high-tech purchase or something with intricate or long learning curve. Maybe it's correcting billing orders or remembering the customer after the sale. It's always important to resolve complaints, particularly if you can prevent the need for the customer to complain and fix something before they even realize it's wrong. Part of that, though, would be making sure that you ask the customer how he or she would like the complaint resolved. So let's take a look at the traditional versus relational sales process. We've talked a lot about the trust-based sales process over this course. Here's another way where it really differs significantly from the traditional get the sale and move on process. In the trust-based sales process, there's a pretty long list of things that will happen and activities that take place after the sale is made. And these are the things that don't occur in the traditional sales process that's more transaction-based. Let's take a few minutes to talk about some of the best ways for handling complaints. You've probably had a complaint or two in your life. It might have been how you washed the floor or cleaned your room as a kid, and it might have been how you've performed your job. It might have been as simple as how you made someone a sandwich. But surely you've come up with some of your own strategies for handling complaints. One way to handle complaints is to build the relationship to the point that the customer is comfortable complaining. You don't ever want to have a business relationship where your customer feels that they can't tell you that something is wrong, because inevitably that will lead to dissatisfaction and probably defection. Make sure to listen carefully and get the whole story. A good salesperson, if you recall, has good listening skills, and they have to take place here too. Before jumping in with a solution and telling them you know what the problem is, listen to what's happened, perhaps assess how it has impacted their business, and make sure you get all relevant information. And then ask the customer how he or she would like the complaint to be handled. There's probably a variety of different ways that can solve this problem, but some might have some unintended effects. For example, If you have overbilled or underbilled in a particular month, it could cause some serious accounting problems for that firm if you handle it however you feel like it. You'd have to work it out with them first and let the customer decide how that accounting error should be managed. And from there, you can gain agreement on how that solution should be implemented. And this should help make sure that there won't be any problems after the fact and that the complaint will be adequately resolved. After taking action, make sure to follow through on all the promises you made to handle the complaint. So in summary, building goodwill and adding value to the product or service through regular follow-up will enhance customer relationships and hopefully lead to long-term customer value and lifetime value. The components of effective follow-up are to interact with the customer, connect with them, know their situation, and be able to relate to their situation. And relationship enhancement activities are critical to the success of building long-term relationships with buyers. As a salesperson, you should always look for ways to improve the relationship with the customer, even after the sale has been made, and especially after the sale has been made.